Sadudes. I make a lot of builds, but I don't make a lot of videos. That's because most of my builds are terrible. I tend to play complete memes that aren't functional most of the time and just do things because it looked cool. So instead of just letting these meme characters sit on my account and not show anyone, I'm going to make a new series to showcase these. This new series is focused on build ideas, whether or not they're good or not, and rating them if they are worth playing. I'm going to call this series Bad Builds Played Poorly. Name pending. Feel free to give me a better name. So we're going to start off with the worst build I have made so far this league. Incinerate of Venting, Berserker. This build uses two new things that came out in this patch. First is the new gem, Incinerate of Venting. This version has more stages and has no ending wave whenever you finish channeling. It is just flamethrower all the time. Next is the new helm, Ravenous Passion. This scales your spell damage and cast speed off of rage. Paired with Berserker's triple rage effect, this gives us a lot of spell power and cast speed off of scaling rage. We further scale rage with Bear's Girdle, some off the skill tree, and this very cursed Psychotic Axe. To deal with the whole standing still thing, the best solution I found was to make an Aegis Aurora setup. So this lets us face tank a bit, in theory. Where do I even begin with the problems on this one? It has a bunch of issues, but damage actually isn't one. It does decent damage despite all of this. Alright, problem 1, the channeling. Out of everything in this game, by far the most dangerous thing you could do is stand still. A lot of rare enemy mods will brick your build alone. Specifically, lightning mirages and those lightning pylon looking things. I don't know what they're called. Temporal bubble becomes even more annoying as well. You're also hit by projectiles more, because usually you dodge over half of them by just moving around. All of this adds on to the ramping problem. You lose all of your stacks when you stop channeling, meaning you lose your damage. So half the game wants you to move, but if you move you lose your damage. Frostblink helps a bit with dealing with this, but the cooldown is still far too long. One of the original plans was to use vines to leverage the standing still thing, but it is incompatible with Frostblink because Frostblink will remove all of your vines immediately, making it unusable. It also takes far too long to get your vine stacks up. Problem 2, ramping. Along with the ramping in the venting casts, you have to ramp your rage as well to get your damage. Because we do not use war cries, the only way we get our rage is through the mana costs. This also means dying is far more punished than usual, and that happens a lot. We have 110 rage, and we gain it 15 at a time by spending mana. This can take a good minute to cap out your rage. Usually we would scale mana costs to fix this problem, but because we're a channeling skill, the cost can't be too high or else we can't sustain it. It also can't be too low or we won't get any rage. This leaves us stuck with mana gain on hit as the main way to sustain the mana. Problem 3, survivability. I have somehow managed to make the squishiest Aegis build ever created. Low ES, low armor, glancing blows barely even increases the effective health pool. At this point it needs a complete regearing. Honestly, a Defiance of Destiny would probably have been a better solution, but I don't feel like putting in the money to regear this. Lastly, there's a bunch of wasted stats. Berserker and the Rage Gear have a lot of increased physical damage, which we aren't using at all. This build is barely functional. It technically works, but it's just painful to use, and you are hard countered by random rare mods. Overall, I'm giving this a 3 out of 10. I don't feel like playing it anymore, that's why it's first. Spell Berserker should be able to work, but ideally as either Fizz or Fizz Convert. There also needs to be a way to deal with the rage ramping, maybe a weapon swap? Incinerate of Venting might be a good totem build, but I don't see how Self-Cast could work. Maybe as Inquisitor, that seems to have more synergy with Aegis. But together as a Berserker of Venting, it just doesn't work. That's a bit for this build summary. I have a few more builds already made, and they are looking far more viable than this one. Would you rather see Summon Phantasm Tornado or Galvanic Arrow Slayer next? Both of them are equally stupid in their own way.